אחר צהריים טובים לכל המשתתפים ביום הבינלאומי של Tech for Schools. כנס זה הוא למעשה מסורת ייחודית של קהילה מקצועית, שיתופית, שמקיימת יום למידה שיש בו מקום גם לתלמידים של בית ספר בשעות הבוקר, גם למנהלים וחוקרים בשעות הצהריים, וגם לסטודנטים בשעות הערב, לדון במגוון נושאים חינוכיים הנושקים לתחומי רב תרבותיות, שיתופיות וחיים ביחד. היוזמה שנולדה בשיתוף בין 3 מכללות, מכללת סמינר הקיבוצים, אל-קסמי ותלפיות ב-2005, ומשנת 2009 מופעלת במכללת סמינר הקיבוצים בראשותה ובהובלתה של דוקטור מירי שנפלד, היא דוגמה מעולה לאן אפשר להגיע, ואם משלבים ידיים, ואיך אפשר למנף פעילויות. אני שולחת מכאן, מהבית של מכללת סמינר הקיבוצים, ברכות חמות לכל השותפים שלנו, ומאחלת לנו עוד שנים רבות ביחד של שיתופי פעולה. וכעת אני אשמח להגיד כמה מילים לפתיחת המושב של למידה שיתופית. לפני שבוע אנחנו השקנו את הספר הבינלאומי למידה שיתופית בעולם גלובלי, בעריכתם של עמיתתנו דוקטור מירי שנפלד ופרופסור דיוויד גיבסון, והספר למעשה מהווה ניסיון כנה להציע ערוץ לפדגוגיה עדכנית העונה על הצרכים של העידן הנוכחי של המאה ה-21. קשה מאוד לנבא מה נצטרך לדעת, או מה הסטודנטים שלנו יצטרכו לדעת כשהם יסיימו את לימודיהם, וייכנסו אל הכיתות של מערכת החינוך. אבל אני חושבת שאנחנו יודעים להגיד מה הם יצטרכו לדעת לעשות. ואחד הדברים המרכזיים שהם יצטרכו לדעת לעשות, זה לעבוד בשיתופי פעולה, וגם ללמד את התלמידים שלהם לשתף פעולה. יחד עם הנושא של למידה שיתופית, אנחנו יודעים שהמיומנויות של למידה שיתופית יש להם ערך מעבר לקידום למידה משמעותית, אלא גם בנושא של ללמוד לחיות ביחד, וללמוד לייצר יחסים טובים עם הזולת. לכן פרקטיקה זו יש לה ערך חינוכי, חברתי ממעלה ראשונה, וכל הניסיונות שלנו לקדם את הידע בתחום הזה מאוד מאוד חשובים. אז גם הספר שהוא צעד מאוד חשוב בכיוון הזה, וגם מושבים מן הסוג הזה שאנחנו עומדים לקיים כיום, אני מקווה שיקדמו אותנו לעבר המשימה המאתגרת הזו, כי אנחנו יודעים מניסיון וגם מהספרות שלמידה משמעותית היא לא פשוטה הלכה למעשה. אז שיהיה לנו השתתפות מעניינת במושב, וגם השתתפות פוריה ולמידה משמעותית בהמשך הכנס.
Thank you very much, Professor Judith Weinberger, and we will continue with the panel. How we can you upload? Okay, so some people are. Judith, if you can close your mic. Okay, thank you very much. This panel will deal with collaborative learning in a global world. As Judith described, we had a book launch. Judith? Speaker. We had book launch last week, and we would like to speak a little bit about the methodology of collaborative learning and about some of the chapters in this book. And the first one to describe the chapter will be Dr. Judith Weinberger. So these are the subjects that we have in the book, and you are more than welcome to look at the content and read the book. These are our presenters, and we'll introduce them later. And we'll start with just a minute. Hi, Howie.
יהודית, יש לה אפשרות לדבר.
But this is not the last presentation. Can you upload the recent presentation? Or maybe we'll start now with the next presenter, with Professor Finkbeiner. And then you will look for the last presentation. Please give Professor Finkbeiner the...
I've given her. She has to put on the microphone. Claudia, put on your microphone.
Claudia, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay.
So, Professor Finkbeiner from the University of Kassel in Germany. She is my colleague from the last 5 or 6 years.
Me?
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Claudia. Yes, loud and clear.
Very good. I'm sorry, but I have to do this from my cellular phone because it doesn't seem to work from my computer. But I wanted to thank you very much for having me there at your panel, and I wanted to congratulate everybody to this wonderful conference. And I also wanted to congratulate Dr. Mary Schoenfeld to her wonderful book, which is very important. I'm just trying to join now so that I can see the transparency because, yeah. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about international online collaboration, and I would like to talk a little bit about facilitators and obstacles, because these are, of course, important issues. In a lot of books, it seems we read about how wonderful cooperation is, and it is indeed wonderful. However, there are also some critical elements that we have to consider to make it even more wonderful. So I would like you to maybe move my slide, or can I do that?
You can.
Maybe could you help me? Because I'm on the, yes. First of all, I wanted to point out to the fact that I will be talking about this online collaboration project between Kibbutzim College and the University of Kassel. We've been cooperating for over 6 years, and it's been really a wonderful experience. And we've brought together several hundred students at each end who cooperated together in groups over different semesters. The groups that we have formed are the diverse groups of students, for example, Arabic and Jewish students in Israel, and on the Kassel campus, which is in Germany. We've had German students, but also American, South American, and Turkish students, for example, because the campuses in Germany are also highly diverse, and the student population has changed a lot. What is really important, and I think crucial to the success of each cooperation among instructors across the world, I think, is that there is a weekly instructor and student cooperation, and so that the instructors meet each week to negotiate the learning environment, the tasks, and model it themselves. We used a specific online environment on distance learning, which was which has always been hosted by the Moffat Institute. So thank you very much to Moffat for hosting that. And we designed and developed the environment together over the different courses that we taught. In each time we used English as a lingua franca because this, so to speak, was our common vehicle, or you could also say English medium instruction. Okay, so the theoretical background of the model, and we call this model the COGI model now, which means Cooperation Germany-Israel. The theoretical background actually is based on, for example, the LMR Plus model, which I developed in 2001 and 2004, which is on the learner, moderator, researcher model. The other model is the TEC model, of course, I guess known to everybody in the conference, which was published by Schoenfeld, Toter and Ganayem in 2013, for example. We also base our background on online and distance collaborative learning, and there is a vast literature corpus on that. The ABCs model by Schmidt and myself, and the human GPS model. And of course, lifelong learning and critical literacy, as pointed out before by Dr. Ellen Hoter. I would like to exemplify the human GPS model just as one example, because it's a nice model to actually show the multi-perspective approach that we all incorporate in this conference. So I would like to introduce the human GPS model to you. First of all, you can see the tiny little spot in the middle. That's the first click. This is our little car or a person, a learner or a cultural facilitator. With the second click, we try to connect to a satellite. This is actually how GPS works. The GPS device, of course, has to be on. Otherwise, it cannot be connected, and it also has to be fed in. So with the next click, we connect to the satellite. However, if we click again, we can see that the GPS, of course, does not locate our car because the car can still be all around the satellite. This means that we have to click a bit more in order to connect to a second satellite. With the second satellite now, we have two crossovers, and we still cannot locate ourselves or our car. This is how GPS works. We actually need a third satellite for triangulation and for locating ourselves. And only with the third, if you could go back and again, please. Okay. And the last click is very important because that simulates the model. Very careful with the last click. One click. Okay, obviously doesn't work, but anyway, it doesn't matter. The model shows that, of course, this whole model is rotating all the time. And what it shows us exactly is that by connecting to the different satellites who are different learners, we have to actually find out where we are with our own view, values, and standpoint. And only by connecting to at least three different perspectives can we locate ourselves. This is nicely modeled in a GPS device, and I transferred this GPS model to human GPS. I called it human GPS because it also applies for cultural learning and language learning. Human GPS is the most important precondition for the development of critical literacy because it includes different perspectives and it automatically leads us to contrastivity as a core element. Human beings need to learn that there are different perspectives. And as we heard this morning, this might not be given by birth, that people know that there are different perspectives. However, we can create learning environments which are rich and culturally enriching. And within these learning environments, our students can learn how to actually be cultural facilitators, because they need to understand that ignoring perspective can lead to misunderstanding and cause conflict, as we see in the world. The online environment that we used was a cooperative online environment, and we used Unico, video conference, Adobe Connect, forum entries, mind map, Padlets, and so forth and so on. In the classes that we conducted at the very beginning, we did a little bit of study on research. And the next slide, please. Our research questions were, what kind of language is used in the group communications. In the group communication, we were really interested in the kind of language, and do the quantity and quality of the group communication have an effect, for example, on the outcome of the task and the group results. We actually did the study with 60 advanced students from 2 universities, that was Kibbutzim College, with Arabic and Jewish students in the sample, and then with a diverse group of Kassel students. And the instruments and procedure that we used was a text corpus that was transferred into a codable work version. And we used 2 extreme groups with respect to the activity, which means we used one group which had relatively low activity, and we compared it to another group that had relatively high activity. We subdivided all the groups into 4 quartiles. Okay, and so our first research question was, what about the language use in the 2 focus groups? What we looked at was the frequency of posts and the reaction time, the language proficiency and the negotiation of meaning, and the depth of communication, personal versus non-personal language use. And what we found out is that it's very interesting that one group had a lot of turn-taking and continuous turn-taking, whereas the other group hardly referred to what the other person said, and a lot of questions were left unanswered, and a lot of posts resulted in, actually did not result in a conversation. The second slide on the research will show us the findings on research question 2. And I would like, yes, no, sorry, research question 1 again. The language used in the 2 focus groups, actually, we looked at the frequency of posts and at the reaction time. And it was very interesting that a lot of the members of the first group were highly active and posted a lot, and their reaction time was relatively low, whereas in the other group, the reaction time was a lot longer. The longest reaction time was actually 19 days, which is impossible for group cooperation in one person. And we found out that if reaction time has a certain critical level, once the reaction time is too long, the group cooperation will not work anymore. So we can turn to the next slide. We also looked at language proficiency and negotiation of meaning. And as mentioned before, of course, for some students, it is very hard to communicate in English as a lingua franca because it's not their first, second, it's very often their third language. Here, of course, we found out that language proficiency can play a role. However, if the group communicates with students that might have a low proficiency and become mediators, then this can be compensated. And we nicely saw that in Group A. Group B, it was very difficult to assess because obviously they used avoidance strategies, which means they did not communicate if English became too difficult and too high an obstacle. Okay, and then the last slide on this is the depth of communication and also personal and non-personal use. I would like to summarize maybe the slide before, sorry. Okay, all members in Group A practiced a successful and personal communication throughout the project, and the task analysis shows that all tasks were completed successfully. Group B, that had a very rocky start and very rocky conversation, did not fulfill all tasks. A lot of things were misunderstood and obviously not clarified. So it becomes apparent that language and communication played a role and actually had an effect on the group result. I would like to also conclude that obviously well-functioning communication can be a predictor of successful group results. If the majority of the group members exhibit strong communication skills, a less active member can be integrated and will not disrupt the overall result because they can become part of the group. If commitment and support are given, for example, language tutors, language support, language devices, technical support, the project will be a win-win, as it is not only about distance learning, but it's also learning about other cultures and other languages. And so if I like to summarize the obstacles Critical factors were the reaction time, missing turn taking, technological problems, missing infrastructural support, administrators' rights, data protection plays a huge role in Europe now, intellectual property, it's close to paralyzing actually online cooperation. Then of course socio-cultural factors, cultures, calendar, public holidays which differ, asynchronous and synchronous meetings with a different cultural calendar, the time factor, intercultural competence, and the language proficiency as a threshold level. Then I would like to continue with the facilitators. Facilitators are ongoing communication, short reaction time, frequent turn taking, which means to get back to what the other person said. Group cohesion will be built up, an early start before the start for the instructors, regular instructors meetings, and active instructors group modeling step by step by step. So the regular group meetings play a usual role, also reciprocal commitment, sharing the task and sharing the load, definition of minimum requirements, discourse time, and a tutorial system where we include tutors. Without the tutors at our end in the University of Kassel, we could not have done the project because there are quite some challenges that, for example, Dr. Schoenfeld got to know because she taught in our campus and got to know all the facilities that we have. So finally, I would like to thank the COGI team, for example, Dr. Einhard Rosner, who participated from the very beginning, together with Dr. Mary Schoenfeld in the years 2013, 14, and so forth and so on. In 2018, we had a wonderful project with Dr. Ellen Hoter, Dr. Miki Gritz, Dr. Naim Najami, and of course, Dr. Mary Schoenfeld, who was always part, together with me. And then the last semester, we had a wonderful project again with Dr. Anat Cohen and with Dr. Mary Schoenfeld. And I would also like to thank the assistant lecturer, Howie Gordon, who did so much work for us, and all our tutors in the Kassel campus, Karina von Kensinski, Tobias Kolle, Mirjam Muchow, Wiebke Ost, Marcel Förster, Dominik Witrowski, and Morgan Scholz. I would like to thank all of them, and particularly Dr. Mary Schoenfeld for the wonderful cooperation we've shared over the last few years. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Finkbeiner. And we switch again to Tel Aviv, to Seminar Kibbutzim, to Kibbutzim College of Education. And Judith Weinberger will describe another chapter in the book and research about practicing collaborative learning in teacher education. So Judith, you can start.
Thank you, Miri. Hello again. The study that I'm going to present today was conducted in collaboration with Dr. Miri Schoenfeld, and the topic of my talk is practicing collaborative learning in teacher education. Educators, participants, educators, politicians, and industry leaders in Israel, like in other countries, have dubbed that collaborative learning as a set of necessary skill of the 21st century skills, emphasizing cooperation, the ability to work collaboratively, and the promotion of effective interpersonal communication. In our view, collaborative learning is a pedagogical approach that includes a variety of methods and models in which learners work together in small groups to reach a common goal, such as project, solving a problem, or completing a task. Learning, according to this pedagogy, is a result of exposure to new knowledge as well to a variety of cultures, and offers the benefit of developing social skills, communication skills, and higher order thinking. Since collaborative learning is a particular importance for future teachers' professional expertise, and since its implementation in practice depends on their educational beliefs, their personal theories and their formal experience is very important. And the present study is designed to figure out which variables influence students-teacher willingness to use collaborative learning in their classes. Because of the shortage of time of this presentation, I will actually present only the quantitative data of our study. Some words about the method. The study took place in a large teachers' college, Kibbutzim College of Education, the leading college, teachers' college in Israel, and its sample consisted of 205 students in the Faculty of Education. The data was gathered by a questionnaire that was distributed at the end of the school year and consisted of 5 parts according to the themes of the study. First, knowledge about collaborative learning. The second is attitudes towards collaborative learning, previous experience with collaborative learning, and skills to practice collaborative learning, and of course, willingness to use it. The questionnaire included open questions as well as closed questions, and the open questions were analyzed by qualitative approach, but as I mentioned before, I will present only the quantitative data today. And now we'll go to some main results. As you can see, the characteristics of students' experience with collaborative learning provided the following table. We can see that the highest scores for the advantages of collaborative learning were related to statements that dealt with the benefits of communication and personal interaction. The highest scores for disadvantages of collaborative learning addressed statements that deal with sustainability of collaborative learning to different topics and different learners. The high score produced by the attitude statements indicates the importance of experienced collaborative learning in teacher preparation from the points of view of the students. The students also showed a moderate to high sense of being skilled enough to practice collaborative learning in their classes and high willingness to do so. I will continue with the results. In order to examine the relationships between the research variables, Pearson correlations were examined, and the findings is presented in the following table. As you can see, there is a positive high correlation between familiarity with the advantages of collaborative and attitudes to collaborative learning, and the willingness to teach using collaborative methods. There is a high negative correlation between knowledge of disadvantages of collaborative learning and attitudes to collaborative learning, and being willing to teach using collaborative learning. There is also a high positive correlation between attitude to collaborative learning and willingness to teach using collaborative learning. And finally, there is a high positive correlation between the feeling of being skilled enough to teach collaborative methods and willingness to do so. Relying on these results, same analysis model was performed, as you can see it in the following slide. As we can see, knowledge of advantages and disadvantages, attitudes, and feeling skilled are mediators, while knowledge and advantages and disadvantages mediate between experience to other variables. Attitude and feeling skilled contribute directly to the target variable, which is willingness to teach with collaborative learning methods. What is found very surprising to us is that the experience with collaborative learning does not influence to the knowledge of advantages and disadvantages about collaborative learning, but still are very important since they contribute to the attitudes and feeling skilled to use collaborative learning. Although student teachers express a relatively high rate of willingness to incorporate collaborative practices in their classrooms, collaborative learning is not so common in higher educations. And since implementing collaborative learning seems to be a complex and demanding task, it should be supported and facilitated in teachers' education programs and in their professional development. So what can be learned from the findings of this study regarding ways of enhancing collaborative learning in teacher education? And we'll go to our recommendations. The main recommendation of the study is to include in the teacher education program courses knowledge about collaborative learning. The teaching of collaborative learning in teacher preparation programs should include, alongside active experience with the method, also study of its theoretical and strategic aspects. This might include the history of collaborative learning, different methodological approaches, and the results of research regarding challenges such as regulating collaborative groups and the role of the teacher in the group dynamic. DeHay and her colleagues found 7 aspects that lecturers in higher education should learn, including in relation to collaborative learning, and you can see them here on the slide: coaching and guiding, developing tasks, providing valuable peer feedback, nurturing accountability for the task and the teamwork, motivating students to collaborate, assessing collaboration, and group compiling. Direct instruction that addresses these aspects is necessary for expanding knowledge of collaborative learning, which I remind you was found in this study to be crucial for student teachers' positive attitudes, their feeling that they are skilled, and their willingness to practice collaborative learning in their classes. So thank you very much for your attention, and I hope that these findings would be used in our knowledge to use collaborative learning in teaching education. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And from Germany and Israel, we'll go now to the United States to Professor Paul Resta. Please give Professor Paul Resta the rights to speak. Awi, can you?
I've done it already. Paul, you can start.
So Professor Paul Resta is my colleague, and we do a lot of, maybe 10 years of collaborative learning in Second Life, in virtual world. I would like to know if Professor Paul Resta is able to speak.
Paul, you need to click on the microphone at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, okay, it should be working now.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Can you hear me? All right, fine.
Yeah, we can hear you. Thank you very much. And
Right.
if you want, you can click on the webcam so we can also watch your speech, your
And you
presentation.
can click on the slides to make them progress.
Okay, and I'm clicking on the start camera. Could not start camera.
Okay, so we'll just go ahead then.
Okay. Yeah, thank you all. Oh, if we can just have the first slide, but what we'll be talking about is a chapter that Mary and I wrote for the book, and the title of the chapter was "The Effect of Using a Competitive Game with Transnational Collaborative Learning Teams in a Virtual World." And we've just heard some several examples, excellent examples of the effective use of collaborative learning in higher education and also in K through 12 education. And you know, all these former studies, you know, really demonstrated the power of collaborative learning, which has really been established for some time. I mean, I'm thinking back to the earlier meta-analysis of Johnson & Johnson, where they did a meta-analysis of over 400 studies, you know, comparing cooperative learning versus the traditional model of education, which, as we look at that, the traditional model really is an individual competitive learning, and so you know, we and in their meta-analysis, they did not find one instance in all of these studies where the individual competitive learning, the traditional model, yielded better results than cooperative learning. And so Miri and I have, for over 10 years now, I believe, have had our students work in collaborative learning teams, and interestingly, we've had them do this in a virtual world using Second Life. Second Life has been the most widely used virtual world in education, and we were very much interested in seeing the collaboration between transnational students, and so we've done a number of studies over the years with the students in Miri's graduate class and in mine. As we comprise the teams, there are about half of the students would be comprised of students from my class and half from Miri's class. And there's always interesting logistical issues and time difference issues that you know, the teams would need to deal with, but this has been very, very successful. We've had a number of studies showing you know, the level of engagement of students in working with team members, peers from another country, in both fostering cross-cultural understanding, as was mentioned in one of the previous panelists' studies. But you know, what we were very much interested in was, you know, we've seen often that the highest levels of collaboration occur when a group is in must compete with another group. You know, we see the athletic teams that are most successful are those that, you know, are most effective in collaborating with each other. And the same is also true as we see the competition in business and industry, that, you know, to be competitive and successful in business and industry, you have to be very effective in terms of collaboration within your organization. And, you know, so we wanted to explore the effects of inserting a competitive game sort of as a culminating event in the work of the collaborative teams, the joint Israel-U.S. teams, as they had already been working together for several months in designing a collaborative learning activity in Second Life. And if you go to the next slide, as I mentioned, one of the things that they did have to address was the whole issue of the time zones. And one of the things that we emphasized when we formed the teams was that in terms of their time availability to meet with their team members in the other country were times that were feasible to meet together and not necessarily convenient to meet together. Next slide. So the team members actually met each other in the virtual world. They had created their avatars, and we had a home base in this virtual world in Israel Island. And so we gave the
like pop or something like your experience. Hello?
I'm hearing somebody.
Sorry, I'm just.
Sir, just want to say I'm here in the global classroom in Oshawa, in Canada, and we're ready to come anytime. And we'll
Okay, carry on, Paul. Sorry.
Okay.
Carry on. Paul?
Paul, can
Paul, carry on.
it seems that Paul lost the microphone.
Paul went off for a second.
Okay, so I will just continue and tell you that what we found is that having a competitive group games was very effective to the identity of the group, and it helped a lot in having collaborative learning. And if you really want to read about it, you can go to the book. I just sent you the link to the book. There are more materials about collaborative learning that you can read about. And I would like very much to say thank you to Professor Finkbeiner, Professor Weinberger, and Professor Paul Resta for being with me here at the panel. And we will have discussion maybe another time, because the time is running, and Manal is waiting for her panel. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Miri. Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. As every year, I promise to have this international project